Okay, again, our warm-up is asking us to solve absolute value equations. And again, the more I get through grading of the quiz, I'm hoping we have now corrected some of these errors, but the two biggest things that I am seeing on the quiz as far as errors are, the first one is that we're not setting up two equations, which anytime we're solving absolute value, it has to be two equations. The second big mistake that I've started seeing is leaving the absolute value symbols when we're solving. Once we go to solve, the absolute value symbols are not there. And then a third mistake has also crept up, that instead of changing the sign of the number outside of the absolute value, I'm seeing people changing the sign of the absolute value equation itself. So this first one, we have the absolute value of 8x plus 5 equals 21. Remember that 8x plus 5 could either produce a positive 21 or a negative 21 to give us an absolute value of 21. So when we rewrite this, we're taking that 8x plus 5. We are not changing the 8x plus 5. We take that part out of the absolute value. One time it's equal to positive 21, or we rewrite that, and again we still use 8x plus 5 equals negative 21. So again, one thing, I see a lot of people wanting to just solve out of the absolute value. We should not be doing that. We should be rewriting the equation without the absolute value, once with a positive 21, once with a negative 21. So on the first one, I subtract 5 from both sides. I get 8x equals 16. Divide both sides by 8. And I get x equals 2. Make sure we're being cautious with our positives and negatives, because that's also causing some issues. Go to the second equation. Again, I'm subtracting 5 because I'm doing the opposite of what I see. Now I have 8x equals, I have a negative 21 minus 5. Anytime you have the same sign, you're really adding them together and keeping the sign. So this would be negative 26. Then again, I am going to go in and divide both sides by 8. So x equals negative 26 over 8, which reduces down to negative 13 over 4. So our solution set here would be 2 comma negative 13 fourths. Now, if you change that to a decimal, you can. We usually don't write them as decimals, and some of you were giving me mixed numerals. That's fine as well, but I'll be honest, usually they're going to leave that answer as an improper fraction as long as it is reduced to its lowest terms. We need to get in the habit of working with fractions. So number 2, the absolute value of 7 minus 2y equals 3, which means I'm going to write it once, 7 minus 2y equals 3. Or I have 7 minus 2y equals negative 3. Again, whatever was inside the absolute value, I'm just rewriting that. I am not changing any signs. I'm doing this, changing the sign of the constant on the other side of the equal sign. So here, subtract 7 from both sides. Negative 2y equals negative 4. Divide both sides by negative 2. And we get y equals 2. And then again, we have to go to the second equation. Subtract 7 from both sides. So negative 2y equals negative 10. Divide both sides by negative 2. And y equals 5. So my solution set here would be 2, 5. The other thing I want to caution you on, because I also I'm seeing things where we aren't copying the problem down even correctly. When we're moving from one line to the next, if it was supposed to be negative 20, sometimes I'm seeing it become negative 2. Or if it was supposed to be negative 12, I'm seeing negative 2. Take your time. There is no prize for being the first one finished, and there's no punishment for being the last one finished. So I want you guys to slow down a little and make sure you're being accurate. Because I'm seeing a lot of silly mistakes as I go through this last quiz. And that's costing you points because we're just moving too fast. All right, today we are going to go back and we need to do some more work on literal equations. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to page 14 in our packet. Page 14 is a blank page. We're going to use that as an extra note page here. So go to page 14. And page 14, we're going to title this Literal Equations Review. Now, literal equations is where they were giving us equations with more than one variable, but asking us to only solve for one variable. So what happens if I were to give you the equation 5 plus 6y equals negative 18? So, Maria, what would be our first step if I asked you to solve that equation for y? Subtract 5. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, which leaves me 6y equals negative 23. And Ethan, what would be my next step? Divide both sides by 6. So we get y equals negative 23 over 6. Now that's solving for one variable. We only had one variable in there. We were solving for it. What happens though if instead of that I now have 5x plus 6y equals negative 18, and it says solve for y? So Erica, what is the difference between the equation we just solved and the equation I just wrote on the right-hand side? The 5 has a variable. That is the only difference. It doesn't change the steps. So we have an extra variable there, but again, that's not the variable we're being asked to solve for. So Jaylyn, what would be my first step in solving the equation on the right for y? Subtracting 5. What's next to it? X. So the first time we subtracted 5, because that was the only thing that was there, the only difference here is now we need to move the 5x. Since that's a multiplication, we can move the entire thing at one time. So now I have 6y equals negative 18 minus 5x. So we have to learn to treat that second variable like it's attached to the number it's with and just move it like we would So Isaac Rios, what would be my next step in solving this for y? Yeah, I'm still going to go in and divide both sides by 6. So now y equals negative 18 minus 5x divided by 6. Now, you can rearrange those letters. So you could rewrite this as y equals negative 5x minus 18 divided by 6. You will see them written both ways. But we need to treat that extra variable as if it's just attached to the number and solve it the same way. The steps did not change from the equation on the left to the equation on the right. The only difference was we had to attach that x to the 5 as we moved it. And obviously, by having that x, we could not simplify like we could in the equation on the right. All right, so example 1, solve each equation for y. So the first one I'm going to put up here is 2x minus y equals 2. So Berseus, on 2x minus y equals 2, if I'm trying to solve for y, what would be my first step here in solving? I want to solve for the y. So I want to leave it alone. So what is the other thing that is on the same side as the y? And if it's a positive 2x, how am I going to move it to the other side? Subtract 2x. It's a positive 2x, so I'm going to minus 2x. So I have negative y equals 2 minus 2x. Now I have to go until I have a positive y on that left-hand side. So Lily, what do I need to do to both sides to get that y to be positive? Divide by negative 1, because it's like it's negative 1 times y right now. So we're going to divide by negative 1, which is going to give us y equals, and it's going to change the sign up there. It's going to be negative 2 plus 2x, or again, you could rewrite this as y equals 2x minus 2. So again, we're just treating that extra variable like it's attached to that number as we move it. We have to know what variable am I trying to get by itself. All right, the next one. 2x minus 5y equals negative 30. Again, all of these we are solving for y. So Michelle, if I'm solving for y here in number 2, what is the first step that I need to do? Subtract 2x. So negative 5y equals negative 30 minus 2x. And then Lila, what would be my next step in getting y by itself? Divide both sides by negative 5. So I get y equals, now because I'm dividing by a negative, it's going to change the sign of everything. So I really have 30 plus 2x divided by 5. Or again, you will see this as y equals 2x plus 30 divided by 5. So again, we're just treating that extra variable. We're attaching it to that number and we're moving it like we would move that number if it didn't have a variable. Now I'm going to put up 4 more problems here and pause while you work out the 4, and then we will come back and check our answers. All right, so number 3, x minus 3y equals 6. Number 4, y minus 1 equals 2 times the quantity x plus 1. Then number 5, 13x plus 3y equals 15. And number 6, x plus 2y equals negative 4. So I'm going to pause while you solve. Again, we're solving for y on all of these. That is the variable that needs to be by itself at the end. All right, let's check our answers on these. Number 3, x minus 3y equals 6. Mosiah, what would be my first step on number 3 if I'm trying to solve for y? Subtract x from both sides. So now I have negative 3y equals 6 minus x. And Nayeli, what would be the next step here? Divide by what? Divide both sides by negative 3. So I have y equals negative 6 plus x divided by 3. Or again, you will see this usually written as y equals x minus 6 over 3. Usually the variable is written first and then the constant. Number 4, y minus 1 equals 2 times the quantity x plus 1. So Melody Luna, what is the first step that I need to do here in being able to solve this? Yeah, I need to distribute that 2 inside the parentheses first. So y minus 1 equals 2x plus 2. So Audrina, what is the next step here to solve for y? Add 1 to each side. So I'm left with y equals 2x plus 3. Number 5, 13x plus 3y equals 15. Tristan, what would be my first step in solving this for y? 13x from both sides. So 3y equals 15 minus 13x. And Genesis, what would be the next step? A little louder. Not by 3y, because I want the y to stay, so I'm just dividing by the 3. I don't want to move the y, I'm just trying to move that 3 out from in front of it. So I get y equals 15 minus 13x divided by 3, or again, y equals negative 13x plus 15 divided by 3. All right, then x plus 2y equals negative 4. Vic, what would be the first step in solving this for y? Minus x from both sides. So we have 2y equals negative 4 minus x. Isaac Alcantara, what would be the next step? I'm not dividing by 2y. I don't want to move the y. I'm only dividing by 2. That y needs to stay there. So I get y equals negative 4 minus x divided by 2. Or again, y equals negative x minus 4 divided by 2. But again, we have to treat that second variable like it's attached to the number it's with and just move it the same way we would move that number if the variable was not there. Obviously, our answers aren't going to be as simplified with that second variable because we don't know what it equals. But we have to make sure we're paying attention to what variable are they asking us to solve for and being cautious about how we are doing it and making sure that the variable that is left alone is the one that they've asked us to solve for.